It's the day after Thanksgiving. I just weighed myself. I'm 2.5 pounds heavier than I was the other day. I need you to do exactly what I do to lose that weight. First thing on deck, I'm going to do the workout that I regularly have scheduled for Friday. I'm going to do some zone 2 work, some conditioning work. Forgive me if it's noisy right now. This workout, pretty simple, something you could do. I get a little bored when I sit on the bike for a long period of time, and zone 2 in steady state requires, that you be floating around that 60 to 70% heart rate of max heart rate. And so instead of sitting on the bike for 30 minutes, what I like to do is do 5 minutes on in zone 2. Then I'll get up and do some of the other exercises. Doing windmill mobility work for my G-spine because I'm sitting here on the bike. I'm doing some kettlebell drags from I'll call it a floating beast, whatever, just for some stability in my hips. And then I hop back on the bike. I'll do this for 5 rounds, get about 25 minutes of zone 2, maybe more, considering the other stuff gets my heart rate up there, but it's not the same as riding a bike, or running or jogging, whatever it is. And then I'll finish off with some mobility work. So that's going to be the workout for today. Okay, workout's done. Got in some serious zone 2. Whole point of that workout, just heart health and general longevity. I feel great. It was a solid 45 minutes. Wasn't anything too insane. It was just a nice way to get the blood flowing. Feels good to have a little more mobility. Now it's time for breakfast. Someone asked on the internet, this is what I'm having for breakfast. It's the day after Thanksgiving. It is steel-cut oats. It is bran buds, fruit, yogurt, lots of stuff here, lots of carbs, because I love carbs and they don't make you gain weight. And now I'm going to eat it. All right, we finished up breakfast, drank some coffee, struggled to get a toddler changed, and now we're taking my son to see his first movie in a movie theater. So I'm probably not going to eat any popcorn or anything. I'm pretty full, but I did pack some fruit because that's what I usually snack on in movies. I have a thing about getting popcorn kernels on my uvula. We're back from the movies. I'm whispering because I took my son to the park with my wife, tire him out. He fell asleep on the swing. We don't know what to do. What should we do? I don't know either. I had this whole elaborate plan to follow everything that I was eating the 2 days after Thanksgiving, which is a holiday, because a lot of folks tend to have this idea in their head that they have to eat a specific way to try to lose the weight that they gain, or that they think that they gain, 10 pounds overnight. And I'm just going to lay it out for you. I was filming, and it was time with my family and things of that nature, and my phone died. So I didn't really finish filming all the food I ate in one day and all the things I did, because honestly, I just wanted to be with my family. That's what the holidays are about, after all, right? But now here we are Monday. So Thanksgiving, I ate quite a bit, like a lot of stuff. I didn't skip breakfast. I didn't skip lunch. I ate all the things I loved, including pumpkin pie. If you don't eat pumpkin pie, get out of here. And if you don't eat cranberries from a can, get out of here. Those are the best things at Thanksgiving. The sides are the best things at Thanksgiving. No one cares about the bird. Honestly, no one. But that's besides the point. Those things were really rich, and they had a lot of added salt, a lot of sugar. I ate a shit ton of food. And the next morning when I stepped on the scale, I weighed in at 147.5. The day before, I believe I was 145-ish, or maybe 146-ish. I'll have it up on the screen here. Maybe I'm slightly off. I was about 2 pounds up. Now, the initial thought someone has after a holiday is that, oh man, how am I going to get rid of those 2 extra pounds, right? What am I going to have to do? Oh no, I'm going to gain more weight during the rest of the holiday, right? The rest of the holidays that are coming up. What should I do about this? How should I go about this? And
I'm not going to burst any bubbles here, but the thing that's probably messing with you the most, the thing that's preventing you from losing weight, is the fact that you are focusing on single days on the scale. Like you're focusing on the fact that the scale went up slightly. And now in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, well, there's no point, right? I can't do anything about this. What am I going to do? And then you get a case of the, like, the fuckets. The moment where you're like, I'm going to let go, let loose. There's nothing I can do about it, right? And I've seen this a lot, especially with like coaching clients who are like considering starting coaching in, December. And then they're like, wow, you know what? I want to enjoy myself during the holidays. I don't think I should start coaching. Why delay it, right? You can start coaching. You can start working with me, working on fat loss, all those things, and still enjoy the things you love. And when I say that, everyone's kind of blown away, right? Because it goes against what we're led to believe, which is you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. So that's a long roundabout way of me saying, here's exactly what I did to step on the scale this morning and weigh in at 145.5. So I'm down 2 pounds in a couple days, like less than a couple days, like actually like maybe two days. And it's not a secret. Like it's stuff that you know already, but I'm going to reiterate it here because I just think it's important for you to know. Number one, I didn't skip my workouts, right? That's something I always do, right? That's like a habit I have. But let's say I didn't work out. Be okay. It's vacation. You're relaxing. Working out is not going to make you lose weight in that short amount of time. Working out isn't going to cause you to burn fat in that short amount of time. A lot of people like to say that. But strength training, a hard strength training session, I'm talking where you're leaving maybe like 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. It doesn't burn as many calories as you think it does, right? And even if you're doing something like cardio, maybe it burns more calories per that session, but you usually eat back those calories pretty fast. So I kept the workout going because that's my routine. I enjoy doing it. I find that it centers me. It allows me to really focus in on the day. And I literally just went in there and I focused on hitting zone 2. I focused on mobility work. That's all I did. Wasn't anything crazy. And then I just ate like I normally would eat. I didn't skip meals. I didn't cut my calories. In fact, I still went out for pizza with my wife and my son after we had a movie night. I didn't skip any of those things. I hit my daily steps plus 10,000 steps, just what I normally would do. And the next morning when I woke up, the scale was at 146.5. So I was down a pound, most likely because I pooped. I went to the bathroom. My body had started to digest that food. That's a big part of the scale. I digested the food and I pooped. The water retention, all of that stuff starts to even out as well. So that was the first part of it. And then the next day, we chopped down a family Christmas tree. And I did a challenging leg workout, chopped down a Christmas tree, hit about like 15,000 steps that day, ate like Thanksgiving leftovers, the same foods that had more salt and more butter, ate them, enjoyed them. Again, didn't skip out on anything, even had some hot chocolate, had like a cookie that my wife had purchased for my son that he didn't want to have. I had some of that with her. Like I didn't skip out on any of those things. And the next day I stepped on the scale and my weight was still 146.5. Even after I went to the bathroom, even everything. So we can argue here like, oh, okay, well the scale plateaued there. Like what should I do? No, it didn't. Because reason number 2, that the scale could still be the same or could go up, is because I did a really hard leg day. And I was also carrying a Christmas tree that I had cut down, right? I'm doing intense exercise, strength training. And what that does is you deplete your glycogen. Your glycogen stores in your muscles. Glycogen, we can think of it as like the almost like liquid form of carbohydrate. It's the energy source in our muscle as we are lifting weights, and we need those stores. And after a workout, you do deplete them, and after an intense workout, you are breaking down like quite a bit of muscle, right? You're ripping those muscle fibers, they're rebuilding themselves. It's like when you are remodeling a house. You don't tear down the whole house, but you do tear down specific sections that you want to rebuild, and you rebuild them over time. That's what your muscles are doing. That's why recovery is so important, such as eating carbohydrates, eating ample protein, all those things. And really, you're inflamed, which is a part of the healing process, which you can't really ignore, you can't really skip over, and you don't want to. Like, that is how you actually build muscle. That is how you actually get stronger. So that's why the scale goes up. And then the next day was like Sunday, and I spent it with my family. And on Sundays, I normally like to get a zone 2 session in, just something to shake out the legs, something to get the blood flowing. All I did was walk on an incline on the treadmill for like 30 minutes, and then I did some light stretching, and then we ran errands. Like, I went food shopping, ran around. We went and hung out with my mom because my son loves his Nana. And then by the time we got home, I cooked for like 2 hours preparing food for the week. I drank water. What else? I had a bagel. Like, I had these things that people are like, oh no. All worked within my, my regular macros, my calories for the day. Like, it's nothing too crazy. You know what happened? That night I was exhausted from everything, from the long weekend, from the amount of stress on my body, like all this stuff. I fell asleep at like 8:30. And I woke up this morning, took a poop, stepped on the scale, and, well, believe it or not, I was 2 pounds down. I was 145.5, so 2 pounds down from where I was a couple days prior. Now, did I lose fat? No. The water levels in my body just returned to normal. The glycogen stores in my body returned to normal, right? What is this guy doing? That's silly. Let him turn around. Sometimes people do silly things, such as be a massive truck and try to pull a U-turn in the middle of traffic. Like, what is this guy thinking? The scale was down 2 pounds without doing anything extreme, without doing anything different. Instead of looking at these individual days, I would look at like the weekly average. What really matters, you take all of those days that you weigh yourself in at the same time in your skivvies or your undies, whatever you weigh yourself in, is the average we take, and then over time, how things are trending. And that's what really matters. Like, honestly, that is the thing that really matters. Other reasons that we could talk a little bit more about, since this is what this is all about. Another one is carbohydrates. So let's say you're someone who finds that carbohydrates just make you gain weight, right? I've had a lot of clients say that, like, I can't eat carbs. If I look at like pizza, I'm just going to gain weight. It's not how that works. There's no specific macronutrient in the body that causes you to gain fat. Really, that's from eating in a calorie surplus. And if I had to pin someone down and say, okay, well, what carbs do you think about? I gave the example of pizza, but the other one that people really think a lot about are like donuts and cakes and pies. And, well, okay, so it was a combination of fat and carbohydrate, which is designed to be highly palatable. Like, that's the kicker here. It's designed to be highly palatable. Of course you're going to overconsume it. That's what it's designed to do. Does that mean you should avoid it? No, it just means you should be aware. It's not one macronutrient doing that. It's the fact that your diet is probably made up of things, maybe, potentially, that aren't actually satiating and filling, right? Maybe your protein count is really low for the day on those days when you're overdoing it. Maybe you do eat low calorie, like 2 out of the 7 days of the week, and the rest of the week you're all higher on calorie, and that's why you can't lose weight, or that's why you're gaining weight. It has nothing to do with carbs. But let's say you do remove carbs from your diet. You go ultra low carb, right? Well, remember before when I was talking about like glycogen stores and things of that nature, Well, the second part of the word carbohydrate is hydrate. Literally, all you are losing is water weight. And that's why after, maybe a week or two, you'll notice that the scale kind of slows down. You're not losing as much. Then you try to cut your calories again by cutting more carbs. That's where the problem lies. It's not really carbs that are causing anything. It's just you're manipulating water weight. So maybe you ate more carbs on a holiday or on whatever day it is. Well, that's why the scale would be up the next day. Sleep is a big one. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but when your sleep is off, and look, for those of you with kids, my son still wakes us up at like 4 or 5 a.m., maybe earlier sometimes. When sleep is off, like when you're getting less than like 6 hours of sleep, let's say 6+ hours would be awesome. Now I know if you're going to come for me and say I'm wrong about that it needs to be like 8+ hours. Try having kids. So 6+ hours is going to be great. But when it's below that, what we can actually find is the later you stay up, the more likely you are going to snack and eat things. It's because your body's trying to stay awake. The later you're awake and the more off your sleep is, it messes with your hormone levels. It messes with leptin and ghrelin. And when those two things get funky, the likelihood of you having increased hunger goes through the roof. If you are tired and exhausted and have poor sleep, the likelihood of you making the better health choices the following day will go down because you're after those highly palatable things. You might go into a more of a carby, fatty frenzy just because you're exhausted. And not a lot of people consider that. And the other side of it is, people talk about cortisol all the time. Well, if your sleep is poor, your stress does go up. And when your stress increases, cortisol increases. Your body is naturally supposed to have cortisol, right? That's what helps you wake up in the morning. But if you're up super late, those levels can be somewhat elevated. And that does cause water retention. The number one thing you can do there is work on your stress, but you can also realize, okay, well, that's another reason why the scale could be up. If you're a woman, you have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that when it's your time of the month and you are on your menstrual cycle and your period is right there, you're going to see the scale go up. Is it because you're gaining fat? No. Realistically, you could still be losing weight, even though the scale is going up, because it's water retention due to hormone shifts. Some folks that I've worked with, we might just go and take our calories up to maintenance while on a fat loss phase during the week of their period. Simply because if they're in a deficit, they're already going to be more hungry, they're already going to be having different cravings. Why put yourself in a deficit during that time? So increase your calories maybe by 150 or 200 calories, and they'll come from more carbohydrates and more fats, right? You're going to keep your protein the same, but that can help with that. Usually when people say, like, I was having all these cravings and things, and they're in a deficit, and they're having their period, it's just like, why bother to do that? Take yourself up to maintenance, be aware of how much you're having, and then, lo and behold, you'll step on the scale, and you'll probably see that it goes down. Like, you'll see that it goes down once your period is over because you lose that water weight, and also you could still be building muscle. You could still do all of those things. You're going through menopause, and you step on the scale randomly. Same thing, you're going to be water retention, you're going to have elevated cortisol levels, your sleep is going to be all sorts of fakak. You could be on a specific medication that causes you to retain water. You would have to read the back of the bottle to know that. You could also be on creatine. Does everyone have this reaction with creatine? Not necessarily, but if you are a hyper responder to creatine, your body is storing more water within the muscles, and that will cause the scale to go up. Is it fat? No. It's because you're holding on to water within the muscle. So you could argue that it's muscle, but really it's water. So we listed quite a few things here. Really hard leg day, poor sleep, more carbohydrates than normal, more salty foods than normal. It could be your time of the month, leg day you've done, or the hard workout you've done. It could be that you're still digesting food, that you still have food in your digestive system, and that weighs something. It could be you haven't pooped. It could be you haven't peed, right? Fecal matter adds weight. All of these different things contribute to the scale. I think this is a more useful video than me showing you what I ate. It does not matter what I'm eating. What matters for you, if you're worried about weight loss, is being in a calorie deficit. And to be in a calorie deficit, it does not mean you have to avoid all your favorite things on a holiday. It doesn't mean you have to avoid all your favorite things regardless. Flexible dieting is all about finding balance. For certain folks, tracking protein, carbs, and fat, it can be a little type A, right? It could be where, I have to be as precise as possible. And if I'm off, well, then I'm not going to lose fat or I'm not going to build muscle. And that's not true. It's a range. That's why I'm a really big fan of having my clients, and look, you can get my fat loss guide and I talk all about this, just click the link. But that's why I'm such a big fan of having clients track calories, plus or minus 100 to 150, protein, like a protein goal within 10-ish grams, plus or minus, and fiber. I have a lot of folks track fiber too, because if you're hitting that fiber number, and you're hitting, at least for women, 25 grams, for men, at least 38 grams per day. If you're hitting that, you're going to be full between meals. It's going to help you with digestion. It's going to reduce all-cause mortality. There's only pluses to fiber. And you're hitting your protein goal, you're going to find that your calories naturally reduce to a point where you find it easier to lose weight. And those things allow there to be more flexibility with your carbs and with your fats, even if you are tracking all three macros, right? Instead of being plus or minus 100 on your calories, could be within a 5 to 10 gram range for your macros. So plus or minus for those guys, which again, gives you some flexibility versus having you feel as if, it's got to be perfect or you have to hit it a certain way. Excuse me while I back up. My neighbors don't like it when I back up with my wife's car, but I'm using my car right now. My wife's car is a hybrid, and it beeps when you go in reverse. So I'm in the habit now of backing up a lot because they didn't have nice words for me. So now I back up no matter what. That's a little petty, I know. What I'm saying is, the scale's going to fluctuate. There are so many different reasons. And you can keep it as simple as possible for yourself by just understanding that it will happen. And if you find that the scale is really triggering for you, I'm talking because I've worked with a lot of clients who the scale is a little too much for them, then stop weighing yourself. Option A is you weigh yourself 3 times per week. You weigh yourself 2 days during the week and 1 day on the weekend. Take those 3 numbers, you divide it. That will give you your average, right? You can use that as well. Stepping on the scale every single day messes with you. I will argue that stepping on the scale every day and using it with the average can teach you to be a little more subjective. It teaches you that it's normal, that there's data, that it's going to flow around, but you don't have to do it. The other option is take a break from weighing yourself. Honestly, take a break from weighing yourself. It's not the end all or be all. You can use measurements. The most important one that you could do every 2 weeks for yourself would be your hips and would be 3 inches above your midsection. Those are areas where people tend to gain and lose fat first. Those are the areas that we actually want to see change, and you can tell pretty much from that. Another thing you can track is progress photos. Just snap some photos of yourself. I would do it in a pair of shorts, or if you're female, you could do it in your underwear and a bra or a sports bra and Spanx, whatever you want to do, something that's more form-fitting for yourself. And you'll want to do straight on, you'll want to do from the side, and then you'll want to do your back. And take those pictures, do it every 4 weeks, because you spend a lot of time with yourself. You do. And you usually don't notice when you're making progress. So that's another way. And then finally, your energy levels, how your clothes fit, how things are going along that route. And believe it or not, you'll notice that you're making all these micro progressions, and they stack up and they matter. Scale isn't the end all be all. Don't let it dictate the decisions you are making, because that is fucking dumb. You're going to make a decision that isn't actually based on facts. It's going to be more based on emotion. And that is not going to end well for you because you've done it in the past. Now here we are. So I hope you found that helpful. Smash the subscribe button, like, give a thumbs up, and look, let me know. Do you like when I do these like car talks? It might be something I can do pretty easily. I drop my son off at school and then I have time to do a car talk. Thank you for being here. And remember, you're only one day away from getting back on track and one day away from realizing how amazing you are.